is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast.
And today we have a special guest. This man right here is a legend. Guys, I don't know what to tell you, but
You're
this
funny,
guy
bro.
has the most delicious recipes in the world. We got my boy, Kevin Curry.
I've tried a bunch of them out. They're bomb. They're bomb. Everyone Mendes has sent me is bomb.
How
What's
you been,
up,
brother?
fellas? I've been doing well. How about y'all?
Can't complain, man. Trying to stay out of the rain, stay out of the heat, but doing
Oh my
well.
God.
You know.
No kidding. I think you're in the wrong city, and I'm in the wrong city to try to avoid the heat. I'm in Dallas, and we are feeling it. And I know in Miami, I feel like I was there. I think I was there in February, where around
We
the
were
rest of the
ripping it.
country it's kind of cold. Yes, and it was still hot and sweaty and humid. I was like, dang, how is it possible to be sweating during the winter?
Yeah, we have a different tolerance for heat down here for sure. I know you do in Dallas too. So
Yeah. We had that burning heat. Y'all had that nice, like suffocating humidity.
Yeah.
Like, I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, I sweat on the plane as soon as I land. I'm like,
Oh,
dang.
yeah.
I'm here in the city.
I will agree, though, that I think we can all agree, though, that there are those times where we can appreciate those moments where we do have the heat
Yeah.
in certain times of the year, because, man, there's some other cities that get cold, like this
Yeah.
guy's place.
Yeah, I'm from Syracuse originally. Sorry, everyone
Oh.
listening to the podcast. They're probably tired of me talking about Syracuse, but yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't run fast enough to get out of there.
Right. You know, I used to live in Boston for a short while, for about 3 years, and I was counting down the days when I could come back to Dallas. One thing, just being in Southern culture, like we drive everywhere. And so public transportation is not that big, but up in Boston, you kind of have to get used to it. But I had my truck, and one of the most frustrating things that I could never get used to was having the snowplow come down the street in the morning, and they just pack in your car.
Oh yeah.
And you have to get up then. Literally, you have to get up within 1 hour of that happening to begin to shovel out your car. Otherwise, it turns to ice, which I've learned that the hard way.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot more effort, maybe even days, for you to get your car out.
Yeah, and
So-
the snowplows up in the Northeast are legit like dump truck
They're
snowplows,
actually-
not like an
that's what I'm-
F-250 with like a little shovel on the front of it. You know?
Yeah. It's an
Yeah.
actual thing. It's a real life thing.
Yeah.
And I had a Yukon, which made it a little bit easier, but also
Okay.
made it hard because
Then it gets
people up there on the
underneath,
East Coast-
the
Yeah.
undercarriage. Yeah, and then you're like,
Yeah, and I
can't
could
even
really
rock
go on
back
top
and
of
forth.
the snow.
Yeah,
But it was just one of those big cars. It's just not meant to be up in the North England, on like state up there, because everything is super small and compact.
yeah. Parallel parking is gonna be a bitch for that thing.
Oh yeah, but man, I was surgical with it. You couldn't hold me with parallel parking. Yeah, I was surgical with the big body. That's what I called it.
Yeah.
Big body up in here.
And that's when we can agree that's when we love our cities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, brother, I wanna ask, because I know when we did
Mhm.
our event together, which, by the way, that was awesome, and I appreciate being able to share that floor with you back in Miami, and having that amazing turnout and experience. And I know in there you shared a lot about your story, and for me personally, that was a huge learning experience, in the sense hearing what you went through, hearing the way you grew yourself into what you became today. And I would love to start it off by just simply seeing, telling our audience part of that story of, where you started and kind of that process through it to where it led you to become who you are today.
You want me to share? Or you gonna share that? You said.
I would love if you can share.
Oh, okay. I
I
thought
hear
you were
from the
gonna give
man
me
himself.
Well, man, I'm long-winded, man. I'm from the South, so we can talk for the hour. So you gotta go
Hey,
ahead.
that's all right. We got plenty of time.
Give me a cap. Here is a really quick version of it. I was at a point in my life where just wasn't feeling at my best. Was feeling really bloated, lethargic, and I was severely depressed at the time too. And so I knew that I wanted to feel better and look better, because I saw a photo of me on Facebook and knew that I had to make a change. And one thing that happened to me was that after that photo, I went back to a personal trainer to try to get some help, and they were going to charge me some crazy amount of money. And at this point, I'm at my rock bottom, my proverbial like rock bottom. And I think that's really important thing I'm calling out here, because oftentimes I know as trainers, you all probably get tons of emails from people talking about, really help me out. I'm committed this time. But now having worked in the industry, the people who are really ready to make that change, and the people who just want, you to really help them out. I was that person who was ready to make that change. And I say that because whenever you're ready, you're at that rock bottom moment that you will try and you'll do anything, and you will read books, and you'll take your own health into your hands. And that's what I did. I took myself over to Half Price Books and bought every single book they had there about nutrition. And I taught myself what a calorie was, what a protein and fat and carb and all those things begin to come together. Now, the other part of the story was that I said that I couldn't afford a personal trainer either. So I said, why don't I try to crowdsource my diet? And by crowdsource my diet, I mean, why don't I start up my own Tumblr page, post every single meal there that I'm eating, and then show all the steps, and then calculate the macronutrients for it, in hopes that people like y'all would see it and say, hey, you know what, that's a good recipe, but try more of this and less of that. Trying to build my diet that way. It was just a way that I thought, that I could get some good feedback. And I got some feedback, but the reverse happened. It was that I realized that there are more people out there who were just like me, who were tired of the same boring type of food, and they couldn't eat for energy. They had to eat for flavor, and they wanted to enjoy food. You see that often out there. Yeah. And they wanted to have everything. And my account just began to grow, because all I was doing is just sharing my story and my journey and transformation in food, and how it was transforming me in my life, eventually my career, and what I'm doing today. So yeah, it started from a place of passion. And I think, if I remember correctly, in discussing that, I think people were asking about starting up something within a wellness industry. And my advice then, and always is even today, is to let that start from a place of passion. It's easy to look at stuff on social media and be like, okay, that person has it. They got everything. They got to be doing this. They got a brand deal over here. Everything is not that rosy, first off. And in social media, I feel like it's even more dangerous to do that, because your passion, first off, you just love sharing all your fitness content, your little recipes, your little workouts, your little gym selfies. But when that becomes your job, there's something that kind of happens, and you could really quickly and easily lose that fervor from it. So you need to be at the place where, and this is hard, where if nobody shouts out your name, if nobody gives you that pat on the back, you will still love what you're doing. You'll still love the content that you create. Yes, that people are going to like your stuff. Some people will like it, some people won't. But you need to be that resolute and that in love with what you're doing, because that's what's going to sustain you for the long haul.
I really love going back to where you made that initiative, knowing that even if you couldn't, afford that personal training, you still made an initiative because you were at a breaking point. Yeah. And you did the best you could to be able to get the resources and make that happen and educate yourself and within what you could do at your best abilities. And I think that's amazing, because a lot of people need to hear that, because you see a lot of times where people feel like, they won't start something, they won't move the wheel because they don't feel that they have the right information or the right tools in place.
Yeah.
And you were that perfect example, man, because you went and still got it because you wanted that change, and yeah, I think it's true that, there are moments of chaos or trauma or, those aha moments that really turn the wheel or move the needle for certain people, and you see these changes happen. So, sharing that experience, I know there's a lot of people out there that can definitely use that for whatever it is they're stuck or some kind of trauma they experienced recently that can, make them go out there and push and go out there and be able to find the resources themselves and do certain things as well, until one day, maybe they can afford something to help them get to that next level, but they already moved the wheel and started that process of change in their life. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah. And let me tell people too that listen to this. I mean, can't nobody love you like you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you understand that, even in the romantic sense, you got to understand that too in the business and the physical sense. You can't hire a personal trainer and think they're going to just be so committed to wanting to see you accept all of your stuff and to lose all your weight and accomplish all your wellness goals. That's maybe, like, I'd say, in my experience, that's maybe about 2 to 10% of the industry, people who are really, really, really committed to doing that. But can't nobody love you like you. So as my mom said growing up, because I would love to volunteer and I would love to go and do stuff for other people. And she said, yo, that's great. Charity starts at home.
Yep.
And that stuck with me, that, like, how can I go out into the world and help everybody else, but I can't help out my own family? I can't pick up at home. I can't do stuff around the house. So charity starts at home. You got to start with yourself. So I don't care if you can't even afford like a gym membership. If you love yourself enough, if you're desperate enough, like I was, you will take yourself outside with your mask on. You'll walk around your block. And when you're done with that, you're going to find some stairs. And when you're done with that, you're going to start eating some chicken breast or some salad. You will do whatever you can to do to get you to that next point where you can advance your wellness career.
Yeah, no, 100%. You know, I've said it for a long time now. You know, like there's a lot of simple, easy aspects in the health and wellness industry when it comes to, you know, getting people to buy in and do things. But one of the hardest is getting people to fully commit to themselves, because at the end of the day, like, you know, you can give them recipes, or you can show them how to prepare the food. We can show them how to exercise. We can show them how to, you know, recover better and sleep more, get more optimal sleep. But at the end of the day, like, you know, you're not putting a spoon to their mouth. And, you know, we're not waking them up at 5:30 in the morning to go for that run before they go to work. At the end of the day, like, you know, it's on them. And a lot of the times, you know, I've heard it with my long-term clients, even, you know, that have been with me for like 4 or 5 years. And like, well, you know, how can you help me do this? I'm like, okay, well, the only thing I can help you do is better understand the information. At the end of the day, like, you have to go out and accomplish all the things that you set for yourself. You know, like, if I could get paid to lose all of your weight, I would do it in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. I'd also be a millionaire. You know, I would work out 14 hours every day, and I would eat boiled chicken breasts and broccoli if I had to. I'd rather not. I'd rather follow a lot of your recipes. They're awesome.
No, but hey,
you know?
If money's on the line, I'd do that too.
Right. Unfortunately, I can't. So you need to take it upon yourself to learn more about your own mental state and how, you know, how your emotions and how your stress and how all that stuff affects your workouts and your satiety levels, and, you know, figuring out how to have better relationships with the gym and with food. Like, you know, it's really important that we, as, you know, health and wellness professionals, that's what I appreciate from all the stuff that you put out there as well, is like, you know, we need to hold ourselves accountable to make sure we're doing everything we can to be the best coaches we can be and provide the best service we can. But we need to also be able to allow the people we work with to learn to hold themselves accountable, so that they can really make the steps to move forward in their lives, you know, day in, day out, week in, week out.
It's like, I put it real simple. I tell my people all the time is, you're the car and I'm the GPS to your car. You're in control and I'm just navigating you where you got to go.
Yeah, I like that. I like it.
So yeah, man. And with all this being said, I think the beautiful thing about, you know, what we do, and when this is not even coaching, this is not even being specific, this is just being, as far as what we push out there, is that value and that health consciousness of living an optimal lifestyle. And that's something I just truly love about when I speak to you, when I connect with you, when I see your stuff. That's what resonates with me the most is, you know, this man cares, you know, about pushing value to other people, yet doing it in a way where people can still enjoy and appreciate and love, you know, the food that they're eating and live a healthy, optimal lifestyle. And it's just like everything about you speaks genuine, and it's the truth. So I have a question for you, brother. Bro. Of course, man. Of course. All day, 100%. I have a question for you. So in that transition, you know, from you, you know, in that process of you moving the wheel for yourself, changing your life, changing your body, changing your mind, what was the hardest thing for you? to overcome?
It's a great question. I've never been asked that question before. I feel like there are a couple things, and it'll probably take me more time to really think about which part was the hardest. But the first thought that came to mind when you asked that question, I'll share that, and that was forgiveness. And it was forgiveness of myself. And here's the reason why. Whenever you lose some weight, and I had been not in the best shape my entire life, you know, even when I was really skinny, that just wasn't a healthy shape. That was not the condition. I remember at one point I was eating salsa for my dinner, and because I just love salsa and chips, that's what I was doing. And my metabolism started to slow down, and that's when all the weight gain happened. So, you know, but the thing about it is, whenever you've lost a whole bunch of weight, for me, there was a lot of anxiety that I carried. Like, oh, snap, if I don't eat this exact same thing every single day, or if I don't work out 5 days a week and do my cardio this way, I'm going to get fat again. I'm going to be overweight again. I'm going to be unhealthy again. I'm going to be depressed again. And so what would happen is that I carried that anxiety. And then even still, when like people were saying, this is when I got into bodybuilding and trying to understand that, they're like, go out and have your cheat meal. I would be so bloated, not even just because of the food. I would take a bite and I would just feel bloat. I would just feel bloated. First off, it's just because it's the treat meal. But more importantly, it was because I had so much anxiety and I had so much fear. Or if I'd go out and have a drink with someone, I'd beat myself up. Or if I missed something. And so the part that I had to overcome was my fear of food. And realizing that, Kevin, that took years for you to get to that point and to where you are. One bad meal isn't going to derail all your efforts, nor is one good meal going to undo all those poor decisions prior.
Love it. Amen.
Right?
Yeah.
So one thing I had to really just come to grips with is like, chill out, silence the noise. And silencing the noise for me, that genuinely included unfollowing a lot of people, muting their feeds, people that did not embrace the food philosophy and the healthy philosophy that I had on life. And I don't care how good they looked and how much I wanted to aspire to look like them. I had to unfollow it because I knew that was just feeding into my own perceptions, and I just began to feel inadequate. So once I got that part done and I began to forgive myself, and really just realize, oh, Kev, you're just human, bro. We're all just human. If you don't go and eat that piece of cake and move on and keep it moving, great. And stop comparing yourself to people who get paid to look good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let that sink in. Stop comparing yourself to people who are paid to look like that, because that's their lifestyle and that's their paycheck. But if that's not there, what do you think they're going to be doing? They may have balance too. So what you need to do, Kevin, is you need to establish your own definition of what health and wellness means to you. You need to follow that. You need to stay in your own lane. And whatever you do, if you ever get a platform to let people know, you don't go and tell them, this is the healthy way to go ahead and do it. This is what you go ahead and do. And that's why I'm not an absolutist. That's the way I approach my page and my philosophy on food, that like all food should be enjoyed. We can just prepare it in calorie conscious ways. If you want to go do keto, more power to you. If you want to do the Mediterranean diet, great. If you want to go vegan and be plant-based, I love it. Everyone has their own thing. So Kev, stay in your lane. And when you stay in your lane, there's no judgment there. There's no anxiety there. There's no fear there. It's just you.
I gotta say that is amazing. And it's so funny because Josh and I talk about this is what is the true definition of health? You know, what does health really mean? And we've talked about this, about food and about exercise and all this stuff. And I think, you know, a big notion is what you said is a lot of these people who, you know, had this experience back when they might have been very overweight, and now they dropped all this weight and they're so nervous to eat any little thing and they're killing themselves. And, you know, I was one of those at one point, and oh my God, and now I'm going to take a few steps back, and holy crap. And so what you're doing is you're stressing your whole body out, and you're driving all this bad negativity and inflammation in your body because you're so stressed over one little thing, you know, like
Right.
you mentioned. And it's just like, that's not good either. You know, that's not good either. And so me and Josh always talk about balance.
Yeah, I go to,
Yeah.
you know, I'll go to lunch or dinner with some friends, and like, you're gonna have dessert, you know, you're gonna put like a sugar cube in your espresso. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna fucking die. Like, oh, but like,
Yeah.
don't you need to stay lean? Like, first of all, if you know anything about me, I could care less what other people, you know, like,
Right. Well,
I'll just
also
not
it's
drink a little bit of
interesting.
water before a photo shoot and I'll be fine. But I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
little tricks in order to make, like, I know the camera angles. I don't look like that all the time, guys. Like, you know,
Right,
it's,
right.
you know,
Well, it's very interesting too, though, because do you comment on your friends' food?
only when I want them to feel like shit. But
Oh, okay. So you are a jerk then, because
yeah,
I
yeah,
never comment on my
yeah.
friends' food,
No,
and it's
only
like as
only
long as
when
you
I
stay
want
on
to
your plate,
poke
I'm gonna
fun
stay
at
on
them.
mine.
I'm like, you know, I don't know, those French fries with the cheeseburger. Yeah, but no, most of the time, you know, it's open and honest with them. Like, listen, guys, like, you know, the 85-15 rule. You know, you can enjoy
Yeah.
yourself, but like anything in life, like you do with work, you know, you need to make sacrifices. Now, sacrifices don't mean you need to be like, you know,
Yeah.
brutally dragging yourself through the mud with your food, like, you know, boiled
Right.
chicken and like, oh, just a little salt, or you know, like you can make
Hey.
healthy, tasty things that are also, you know, calorically, uh, uh, you know, limiting and nutrient dense, so that you can live the lifestyle you want to live and look the way you want to live. Doesn't mean that everything needs to be bland. You know, it's not like,
Right. Absolutely.
And
And
we for sure know you don't make
oh
bland
yeah,
food.
yeah,
no, I try not to. I mean, no, I'm supposed to be here in the South.
yeah, yeah. You get
That's
eaten
just
alive.
it's just sacrilegious. Yeah. So, couple things there. I mean, if people want to eat that boiled chicken with some salt on it, I just hope there's a paycheck attached to
Right,
Like he
yeah,
said,
right.
and hey,
get
like,
paid to
hey, if
eat it
you
for you.
get in your bodybuilding bag, get in your modeling bag. I'm not mad about that. Go ahead and do you.
Mhm.
Now, the here's why I'm so happy that I overcame that fear too of embracing a lot more food and eating out when I ever want to, because that's where my ideas come from.
Yeah.
Like you'll
Well,
go out and you eat some and be like, dang, that was a really bomb burger. I wonder if I could shave off the calories by 60% and keep the integrity and taste of that burger. Those are the food challenges that keep me up at night. They just excite me.
that's
So the
interesting.
more you
Re-engineering
allow
that
yourself,
food.
yeah.
That's
So the
interesting.
more that you actually experience life and bring stuff in, it actually enhances your life. So be liberal with the way that you approach life and bring in new ideas. I know that you think that you have some good ideas. I felt the same exact way about myself. But man, once you really get out there and begin to experience stuff and drop that guard, you're like, this was a really great way to approach that. And now I'm gonna try it too. Just last past week, I'm sitting there watching Crazy Delicious on Netflix.
Oh, so
One,
good, so
this like
good.
British cooking show,
Yeah.
and this guy with Jamaican origin, he goes and makes a jerk smoked watermelon. And what am I doing last weekend? I had to get up. I was like, I'm gonna get up right now and buy me a watermelon and
Yes.
get some
Yes.
Cajun seasoning. I'm gonna smoke this thing and I'm gonna try it out myself.
How
So
was it?
it was good. It was really good. And now I have other. And now I'm thinking like I should have done this next time. Blah blah. And so all of that, like right there, just me watching that show, I have tons of different ideas and ways to approach food and play with food to make it enjoyable. Because remember, y'all, we're not just eating here for COVID. We're not just eating here because you've got a competition coming up. We're eating for the rest of our lives. So whether you get this now or you get it later, you're gonna have to get it. Is that you need to come up with your own definition of balance in life.
I love that you said that. And actually my brain's thinking right now because I'm like, I gotta ask Kevin, if you approach the way you approach your food and how you're saying how you can shave some calories off or, re-engineer this and put it in a different way, do you use that same mindset and that same way of thinking for other approaches in your life?
Uh, yeah, problem solving is problem solving, and this may, I don't know, listen to this podcast, it may hit some people a little differently, but I have this joke I've always said, like, when you're on Instagram or social media and there's that one person that used to be overweight they lose like 10 pounds and all of a sudden they are this life coach and they want to help everybody else. Now,
It's always the
first off,
best.
let me say, more power to them, and I appreciate that person who is spreading the message of health and wellness. But my point in me saying that is this: is that the skills that you acquire when you are learning how to eat healthier and live healthier, and what I mean healthier, I mean in like you're watching what you eat, you're doing portion control, you're re-engineering stuff in a calorie conscious way. Those skill sets are transferable. So when people lose that weight and they realize all the discipline it took them to go ahead and do that, they're like, I could do this in my career. I could do this in my relationship. I could do this over here too. So that's, and I was like, that is a synergistic effect of healthy living, of wellness, is that it makes you feel that you're invincible and I can start doing this over here and shoot, yeah, put me down for that, you know? So I just think it's funny, but it's also very much so true that, yes, I have done that. In fact, this is why I'm doing this now as a career, because I just realized, Kevin, if you have what it takes to confront your depression, stare it in the eye and wrestle with it and do what you need to go ahead and do, taking your medication, you're eating better, you're working out, you're staying disciplined, you're doing your counseling, you're doing all those things. Well, then those are the same skill sets that, they're required to manage your own thing in entrepreneurship. And I never thought that'd be here, but it's because that confidence that you get by doing this.
Yeah. People always ask us like, well, you guys got your start out in training. And so like, if who are you bringing on your podcast? And we're like, well, we'll pretty much bring on anyone. Like, doesn't matter. You could be a farmer. You could, be a radio host. You could, be a chef. You could be a trainer. They're like, well, like, but you guys, got your start in training. It's like, yeah, but like you were saying, the roots of health and wellness permeate into every other aspect of your life, whether or not you know it, because of those underlying characteristics like dedication, like hard work, like delayed gratification. All of those things all lead people to success over the long haul. It doesn't matter if it's in the kitchen, in the gym, in the office, in your personal relationships, no matter what, those underlying pillars that everyone really likes to fall back on are there across the board.
Right.
It's so true, man. And it's funny because, going back to what you're saying about the discipline aspect of, somebody coming off when they lost that weight or made that change. Me and Josh talk about it all the time, how it does play a big role in other aspects of your life, and you do see it appear in other aspects of your life, and it really does take shape in other aspects of your life, where you can sit back and be like, you know what, I'm so happy I made this decision, because not only did it affect my weight loss, but it also affected my relationship, my business, my friendships, my partnerships, and all these other things that I really needed to fix on. And it really came out because of the discipline aspect of what I put into making this weight loss. So with that being said, I can truly tell, man, like, just from the beginning, from me meeting you in person, like, I know that you have a lot of your stuff discipline on point, and operating at a high level, and just from the way that we handled our event, the way that from the moment we even spoke about the event, and having our phone calls and our follow-ups and the emails, and at the event, like, I was like, man, this is running so, like, I could tell, like, everything is just like boom, 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 boom. Like,
that never happens down here. That never happens.
Because usually in Miami that doesn't happen. But what is your, or what's the biggest piece of advice you can give people to be able to keep that discipline, to be able to have that sense of order in whatever it is they're doing in their life, to be able to see success? Because we know discipline and having a schedule and following it and putting that into effect every day leads to results. How do you handle that?
I mean, that, like, I think that you just kind of answered the question right there towards the end. You just having a schedule and a plan. So what I would just layer into that would be, you just need to be consistent in all you do. And it's really easy to fall back on old habits and just kind of wing it in the morning. And I remember, and it's relevant even today, I know the times where like I can plan out my day. This happens today, literally today. If I plan out my day, I usually have three things that I have to do, and I write them down. Whenever I don't write those things down, um, my day goes a little bit differently, and I may or may not like get to them. Things are falling through the cracks. Um, but whenever I am consistent and I do the thing that actually got me to where I am, my day goes much more efficient. So one thing I've always told followers to do, in addition to being consistent, is just to drop breadcrumbs. And what I mean by breadcrumbs, it's like if you're feeling great, if you are operating, if you are firing on all cylinders, and it's go time. You are just feeling it. You're in the groove. You got your diet going. You got your food going. You got your business going. Shorty is good. Everything. I want you to write down everything that you're doing, because one day you're gonna wake up and you're not gonna feel like doing it anymore. And it's maybe not something that you did, but it just kind of happens, and it's just life. And those are the times where we stop being consistent. So, but whenever you write it down and you're one day like, I'm just not having a good moment, I go back to those journals to see what I was doing, to see what I'm eating, to see what I was watching on television, see what I'm listening to remind me of that stuff. And so that way I can have my own blueprint back to that place of happiness, back to that place where I can fire on all cylinders again.
It's amazing that you brought that up, because Josh and I, we've had actually one or two other speakers that mentioned the power of journaling and writing things down. And
Yeah.
you know, it is true. It's truly powerful. And I do something very similar. I do my 3 power things, my 3 power tasks for the day, and I write those 3 down, and then I write the rest of the things I need to get to. But I always tell myself, I'm not going to continue on the list unless I accomplish these 3 things today.
Yeah.
So if I don't accomplish these 3 things, I'm not going to get to the other things. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree that that's a huge game changer when it comes to, you know, handling your schedule and seeing results throughout the
Right.
week.
Yeah, I firsthand feel that, you know, like I'm a big, I use this thing by Michael Hyatt. It's like it's called the Fully Focused Planner. And it's like a really like in-depth planner with, you know, annual goals, monthly goals, you know, breaking down into like what he was saying, like 3 major goals. And the weeks where I'm just like, oh, you know, I've been crushing it. Like, I don't need, you know, I think I can go a week without it. And then I'm like, I look back on that week, I'm like, you did nothing, dude. You did absolutely. What did you accomplish? Like, you just wasted a full week because you thought you were the man. Like, nah, get back down with that pen and piece of paper and get back to work. Now, 100%.
Yeah, man. And,
you know, one last thing I'll just say, just real quick, because I know you mentioned mental health in part of my story, is that some people out there, they suffer in silence. And I want to just address that too when it comes to this type of thing. So writing something down, writing 3 things down is a great way for you to look forward to doing something, you know, like your next day. Oftentimes when you wake up depressed and you just wake up in the spirit of like depression and you don't feel like doing anything, you're not motivated. But if you are setting aside time each night or early in the morning to write down 3 things that you need to get done, it's something to look forward to that day. And I don't want people, especially if you're struggling in that area, don't boil the ocean. I'm talking about, I'll be personal, things that were on my list when I was at my lowest. Open up the blinds this morning, walk outside and get your mail, or walk around the building. Even showering, things like that can be really hard for some people depending on how depressed they are. So I don't want you to make it seem as if, all right, my task today is I got to devise a business strategy so I can get my company to make 7 figures. We're not doing that. It can be the entire spectrum, but just put those things down, and you may only get to 1 or 2 of those things, and that's good. I don't want you to be in the habit of being like, dang, you only did 2 of that. Dang, man, you falling short. Celebrate yourself. Learn how to give yourself a break. We don't do enough of that. You know, life doesn't really give a lot of break.
No.
It just kind of happens to us.
It does.
So you got to be your own support system and be like, yo, I know you didn't get to that kid today, but you know what, man? I'm proud of you for doing like these 2 things. Maybe tomorrow start up with this one that you didn't get to. And maybe I also noticed that you're playing video games a little bit too much. You could have been doing whatever you said you're going to do instead of doing, so there are
That's
different
right.
ways that and to be honest with yourself. But I think when you
Right.
give yourself a break, it's when we start to, because I mean, this is a little bit of a rant, but people in health and wellness, this is something that's just always kind of bothered me, is that the only form of like motivation is to degrade ourselves. Man, you shouldn't have done that. Oh, you
I'm
weak. Oh,
glad you
you
brought
weak.
that up.
Man, get that up, man. Get that up, man. That's why she dumped you right there. And you speak so negatively to yourself. And so now we got a whole bunch of fit people with a whole bunch of mental
Yeah.
mental wellness, perhaps some issues and self-esteem issues and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not trying to simplify it or a blanket statement, but I've just seen the correlation, because I know that people, y'all don't want to send me emails and I read them, and you come and talk to me, you pull me aside, so I know what I'm seeing.
Mm.
But I remember talking to this one person, and they just were really into that. And I said, yo, I'm gonna show you something that someone showed me. And I had them to talk well to themselves in the mirror, and they felt so awkward. And then they started crying, crying, because sometimes we don't hear ourselves be nice to ourselves. So give yourself a break. You don't get to your 3 tasks, keep it moving. It's okay. You did 1 today, great. You did 2, wonderful. But whatever you do, don't be mean, because that's how I feel like you begin to fall off the wagon little by little. Those things can derail you.
Yeah, it's like death by paper cuts, right? It's just slowly over time.
Yeah,
I mean,
you don't really notice it. You don't really notice it.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. I mean, Mendes and I talk all the time, even with our personal lives. Like we both strive so much to get so much done in the day and try to, really accomplish a lot. And a lot of the time we fail to, we always, say like, oh, we got to look forward. But every now and then it's good to look back and see the change that you've had. Even if, we were talking about the 10 pounds, to a lot of people that need to lose 50 pounds, 10 pounds is nothing, but 10 pounds is actually a lot.
Yeah.
10 pounds is a lot.
Like,
5 pounds is a lot.
Clap it up for yourself.
Right. And I think
right.
that's where, like you were saying, people being honest with, like really being honest with themselves on both sides of the spectrum, not just being, negative towards themselves when they're looking in the mirror saying like, okay, I need to make a change. I need to do this. Like also like, okay, but even acknowledging that is a major change. And then you can get the ball rolling from there. So like, being honest with yourself, but doing it in a way where you understand both sides of the spectrum, right? You understand the change that needs to be made, but also the opportunity that you have to make that change, and then and then like you were saying, meeting yourself where you're actually at. I think a lot of people lose sight of that. They set their starting point too high. So you were talking about, maybe it's just opening the blinds and going for a walk. Like, well, those are amazing things if that's where you think that you need to be at. But if you try to build a 7-figure company when you need to be opening the blinds, you're always going to fall short. You're always going to fall short. So meeting yourself where you're at is so important.
I love that. I love it. This was brought up because, speaking on one side, for me, for many years, I was always the type that, I never felt fulfilled, or I was never accomplished with my accomplishments. And in the sense that not that I was not happy, not knowing that I was not doing good things, but it was just never enough. And I would never thank myself. And it wasn't until I worked with a coach about 2 to 3 years ago and really worked with me, and she knew how I was. She knew I was that go, and I still am that go kind of person. Josh will tell you. And I love to just get stuff done and just like shoot for the stars, and this is my vision, and go all in. And but at the same time, like I would never really step back, because I was just like, man, it's not enough. And it wasn't until that coach, literally at the end of our coaching, she laid out and she said, now it's time to go over everything you accomplished. And she's like, because she had asked me actually before, like, how do you feel? And I was like, I feel great, but I know I need more. I need to do more. I need to get there. I'm not there at my level yet. And she's like, let's sit down for a second. Let me open up this book right here, this notebook. And I go, okay. She literally printed out everything I would accomplish within a year of me working with her. And she was note-taking all the wins I would share with her that I had all the way through our conversations. And she was like, have you seen this? She goes, have you seen this? And I said, no. She goes, have you taken time to even sit back and look at the wins that you've had? And I said, no. And she's like, Anthony, she's like, look at all the amazing things you've been able to do. Everything that you've been wanting to do, you did it. You said you wanted to do these and you accomplished it. Have you taken time for yourself to really acknowledge and love yourself and celebrate this? And I said, no. She's like, she goes, because you need to also realize that it's not, she's, as much as I love the go, 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 and I love that you want more in life, you have to also have time to really sit back and see what you've been able to do for yourself, because that's also amazing, and love yourself for that, and don't get on yourself for that. And that really opened up my eyes drastically moving forward in my life. And now I do make time, quarterly, to see my accomplishments, and I write those things down. I take a moment to really let that sink in and just fill me up. And
I mean, that's another powerful aspect of journaling, is that you can always, you'll never, if you write it down, you'll never forget about the positive things that you've done in your life.
Yeah.
No,
completely agree.
That's right, man. And I want to kind of go back a little bit back into your story of, that process of you starting to, get these recipes together and the cooking and stuff, and making this change. Where how long did it take for the brand FitMenCook to come out?
So I guess FitMenCook started at the exact same time that my blog started. It just wasn't called FitMenCook. It was called, the Tumblr blog was called FitMenCook, and my Instagram account was called Fitness and Faith, because I was journaling, sharing everything that I was doing, and just working out with mainly food, and sharing things I was reading to keep myself inspired and get me going again. So everything started at one time. So it just I started my blog in the summer of 2012, in that August, and I quit my job in January 2014. I walked away from so it took about 2 years for me to really see, like, for this passion. Remember, I wasn't trying to do that. So this was something that was unexpected. And at the time, it was even more difficult because I was growing in social, and I was pretty good at, like, kind of getting, like, a pulse on, well, I'm not even going to say I was pretty good at getting a pulse on what people are. It's just that, like, because I was part of that pulse. I was part of what people were, I was just creating that content. I got a job offer from Google to go.
I remember you did say that.
Yeah, and that was just a really hard decision for me, to turn that away, because it's the security that I had always wanted, and it's Google. It's Google, and it's really hard to get those job offers. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to gamble on myself, and so you have to have enough oomph inside of you. You have to have enough cojones to be like, yo, all right, I'm going to put everything on the table, and I'm going to see what I'm worth, and see if I can make it. And you'll surprise yourself, because you really don't know just how strong that you really are. But here's what I'll also say about that moment is that as a person of faith, there's nothing I really did with FitMenCook. I wasn't doing anything differently when I said, I'm going to go out on my own. But what the only difference was, I said, I'm going to go out on my own. I'm going to do this. So I think that whenever you say yes to your passion, that thing that keeps you up at night, that keeps just like gnawing at you, you don't know what it is, but it just keeps haunting you. That what if, whenever you say yes to that, there's something that just unlocks. I think that God unlocked this. They're just like, all right, since you said yes and you're going to walk in that, I'm going to reward you. So sometimes the hardest part for us is just walking through that door, not knowing, like, what's on the other end of it. Mm-hmm. And when I finally just walked through that door, it was just like blessings were coming. And I'm looking at that in a spiritual sense. Somebody else could say, well, maybe like when you walk through the door, and this is also true, this is not giving less credit to God, but it's just that, like, you begin to see stuff that you didn't see before. You begin to see opportunities in different ways to be creative, to make money that you didn't see before. Why? Because you're on your own. You're putting your own stuff out there. You're like, oh, that's a good idea. Let me go ahead and do this over here. Let me get in my bag. Let me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but you can't see that. You can never see that, and you're juggling. I had a friend She came to me and she wanted to go into consulting. She's really, really, really smart. Went to some of the top business schools. She's working for this consulting company, made well into six figures. And she was like, I'm thinking about going off my own. And she was trying to do both at the same time. And I said, and she was frustrated for about a year doing her own consulting thing, but also working for a firm. And I said, well, you're not going to get the return that you want until you actually go and do it. She's like, I'm just not sure yet. Took another year. And then she finally came in again. And I said, once you finally do it, you're going to be like, why didn't I do this sooner? So when she finally did it, talking about job after project after project, it just like fell into her lap, where she was just pushing away and turning away work. She makes way more money now on her own than she did when she was with the firm. So again, you can never get the full benefit of your idea if you juggle between them. Please don't quote me on that and have people go on here and quitting their job, and you got angry spouses tell me, FitMenCook said I gotta quit my job.
It was his fault.
Forever.
It was his.
Yeah, no,
We'll put a disclaimer in the video.
Yeah,
A little disclaimer.
ain't saying that. There's a big difference between faith and foolish, and sometimes we can blur the lines. But what I will say is that you just need to have a plan for it. And when you'll know when it's time for you to be like, do it, pull the trigger, let's go.
Yeah, I've had some conversations with some people lately with the changing of the climate with COVID and everything that's been going on with all the social justice issues and everything. A lot of people have been really analyzing what they're doing with their lives and trying to change for the better and change better for themselves and their community. And I've had some people approach me. I know Anthony has as well. I'm sure you've had a ton of people like, I want to go out on my own. I want to do, my own thing, but I'm afraid, or I'm this or I'm that. And I completely agree on one hand with you. Like, you got to have some cojones, right? And I think part of being a businessman or businesswoman, right, is, having an increased sense of intention behind everything you're doing. Because when it's all on the line and you make a mistake, could be the end of it, so you can't do things half-heartedly. You have to go all in. You have to think about things and be analytical, but also be aggressive and not overanalyze the moment at the same time, so which in turn builds resiliency, so like an increase in intention and an increase in resiliency, will make you a better person in the long run, in your personal life, because when things go wrong with my business, I'm like, all right, here we go again. Time.
Yeah,
time to get my hands dirty.
Yeah, you got to get your hands dirty. I'm gonna tell you like this, and this is where I put this, and I hope this lands the right way. I want you listening out there, if you got your own thing you're thinking about doing, I want you to be arrogant. I want you to be arrogant in this sense. Be arrogant, like, yo, I already have a job right now. I'm doing this. I'm making ends meet. I can do this. And if things don't work out, you could just go back to doing what you're doing. You'll find another job. You'll land someplace else. You got to think of yourself legit. You know what? I'm so dope. It don't matter. If this passion project of mine fails, I'm dope enough to go and do something else.
That's right.
So forget all y'all. I remember they were talking about P. Diddy. Puff was walking around with a briefcase around Howard University when he was in college. Everyone was like, who does this dude think he is? He's really a college guy. This dude's going to be a billionaire right now, because you know what? Sometimes you got to act like you got to know, I got something about me. I got a presence, and I don't care what people think about it. So that isn't, now I'm not saying again to be a jerk to people and be arrogant like that, but you got to be arrogant about yourself. So that way, when those negative thoughts creep into your mind, be like, this was a big mistake. You shouldn't have done that. Oh my God, you were messing up. Oh my God, here comes this really big problem. You got to, your arrogance kicks in and be like, seen this before. I'm not gonna lose sleep over this. Yeah, baby.
That's funny.
That's what you have to do.
That's funny you brought up Diddy, because I always think about that video. Every time I have those own thoughts in my head, I think about that viral video he had where he's at the desk, and I don't know if he's talking to people at MTV or whatever. He's like, like super professional, hands at the phone. He's like smashes. He's like, I'm a savage. This is what I do. I think about that all the time. I'm like, all right, I gotta have that energy. I gotta have that.
You gotta have your alter ego in your mind. Be like, oh, this is me. This is me. I'm gonna turn it on. So yeah, go get it.
So sorry, man. Just a follow-up question. You know, like, so what have you been working on over the past couple of months for FitMenCook? Anything new coming out, you know, or anything that you're following up with? You know, we'd be very excited to hear about that stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, we just launched some spices towards the end of 2019, and they've been doing amazingly well. We
I
think
got
we're gonna
those.
probably.
I've been
You
using
got
it.
You've been
them?
sharing some of
I
them
got a
with me.
refill.
You've been sharing some. I gotta get some myself.
I
Yeah.
get you a refill, bro. I need, we have a new spice coming. We think we're gonna launch it towards the fall, but what was in production was we had some really dope sauces coming out. And then
What sauce, guy?
COVID, they were so good, and we were sourcing and using this place out of Colombia, where I visited, and I just fell in love with the food, the culture, and just everything. And so we found a spot there to be able to use to produce the products, and then you know, the Rona hit. That Rona came through and
Ooh.
shut down everything. So that's been put onto the back burner, and then well, not back burner, but we just waiting for the country to open back up so we can finalize what we had already we have in place there. And then the second thing, I'm not even sure if can I even drop it? You know what? I can't even talk about this next piece, but I'm just gonna give a hint that it's something that people have been asking me to do for quite
I
some
love
time.
hints.
Yeah, we love
Yeah,
peaks.
yeah.
Exclusives.
It's something that people have been asking me to do for quite some time. That they could taste something that I've created. So I'll leave it at that.
Interesting. Well, we're looking forward to hearing more about.
And when
about
it
that.
comes out, we'll be the first ones to promote it and
Oh yeah.
talk about
Oh
it.
man,
We got you. We
I
got you.
appreciate that. Thank y'all so much. I really do
course.
appreciate that.
Yeah, anytime, man. You know, anything. You know, we're here to support you, and you know, we really appreciate you coming on. I know Anthony's got another question he wants to ask you before we wrap it.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, first of all, I want to say thank you for not taking that Google job, because
Oh, seriously.
if not, I would have never met the amazing person that you are. You know, Kevin Curry, and what you do for everybody out there, and the value you bring, and the light you shine on upon so many people. It's truly amazing, and just being genuine, you know, you yourself as a genuine individual. So thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. I have actually two quick questions.
Okay.
What is the craziest, wildest food you've ever tasted? That's question number one.
Svid, Iceland.
Yes.
Sheep's
Yes, I had that when I went to Iceland.
Gotta try.
Did you like
Never
it?
had it.
No.
It was
No.
and I think it was, well, here's the thing. So people that don't know, it is a full sheep's head that they chop off. They
So weird.
they take off all the fur and whatnot, and then they blanch it in some water, and then they fire grill it. They fire roast it. So when it comes to your plate, it's half of the head.
Oh,
Or
shoot.
somebody else gets the other half of the head, and it's sitting there looking at you.
I couldn't get past that.
With the tongue hanging out, with the teeth,
Yeah.
because it's all has been fire charred. And
Never
Did
mind.
you like it?
I'm not trying it.
Did you like it?
I like the cheek,
Okay.
but it just made me uncomfortable with the fact that it was just like a full head.
That's
and I
crazy.
know that the vegans out there are going to be like, that's why you shouldn't be
Yeah,
you do that all the time. But I'm like, there is something that's different though in having an actual animal look back at you like, you know, and
What
it's
is going
like
on?
Did you try puffin? Did you try that? I usually don't drop this. I usually don't. I know. That's why I usually don't talk about it, because I'm like, it was pretty good. But it was pretty good.
That cute little adorable bird is one of the most delicious things I've ever eaten.
Right? I'm telling you.
Like,
I hate
oh,
talking about it, because I'm like, fuck, it actually was
little
really good.
adorable bird, but that bird is tasty.
Yeah.
This little
Yeah.
that's a tasty little bird. I tell you that.
man.
I actually had whale too.
Yeah.
I had whale and horse when I was there.
I've tried.
I didn't have horse. I've had horse before, but not there.
Yeah.
Interesting. Both of them, whale and. Sorry, Peter.
Yeah.
So, brother, I appreciate it. We had a ton of laughs, a ton of smiles, ton of value. Last question: what is the biggest piece of advice you can leave everybody listening to today? And it could be any kind of advice you want to give.
Start small in whatever you do. You don't always have to go and build something extravagant in day one. things can grow and blossom into being something that's very beautiful. So there's a scripture that I love. It's don't despise small beginnings. Actually, that's not a scripture. It was to whom much is given, like much is required. So we all have an opportunity to, each and every day to create something that's really beautiful and like amazing. But in this, in our culture right now, because of technology and the things that we're fed, in terms of what we see success come and very quickly to people. We see success should be something that's really instantaneous. We've got 6-week abs. We have millionaires in 6 months. And so we miss out, and no one preaches about the in-between. No one shows the in-between. But there's nothing wrong with starting small and starting out from scratch and starting over again. So in anything that you do, when you're just starting something, there's nothing wrong with starting small. So that's what I would tell people. In your diet. Don't go and boil the ocean and try to overhaul your entire diet in one day, in 1 week. Don't go and don't watch my meal prep videos. Don't watch my videos and make a week's worth of healthy food. I want you just to make one meal for yourself. I want you to pick one habit that you know that is hindering your success and work on that habit. If that means that you're drinking 5 Cokes a day, I want you to work on drinking 2 Cokes a day for the next 2 weeks. I want you to get that down to 1 Coke a day, and then maybe 1 Coke a week. That's your thing that I want you to work on. Start small. That's what I did. And I've had so much more success by doing it that way. Lasting success.
Guys, you heard it. Start small and work your way up.
Before we wrap it up, I want to give you the opportunity to let everyone know where they can find you too, like where on social media,
Definitely.
your website, all that stuff. That way,
Yeah.
that way they can come and get more of those awesome spices and those sauces when they come out.
Thank you, man.
And your
spices
personality.
are available. Appreciate that, man. Spices are available on Amazon. The Fit Cook is the name of the spice, or you can type in FitMenCook spices; they'll all come up. But The Fit Cook. You can also go to thefitcook.com, and then you can find me on social media anywhere at FitMenCook. And then also, if you have an Apple or an Android and you're looking for some meal plans or some meal prep, you can also download our app, FitMenCook, on both the Apple store and the Android store.
Awesome, man. Thank you again for coming on. We really appreciate it. We can't wait for you to be back in Miami.
Thank you so much.
When all this is over, we got to come to Dallas too, get some barbecue with
Definitely.
you.
Come on.
Yeah. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank
All
you
right,
so
y'all.
much, Kevin.